But it's not just the segregation piece. It goes deeper than that. You know, when you look at the way some HBCUs were formed, you know, some people just get blown away when they find out that HBCUs were founded by white people. Don't get blown away, because there's a reason for that. You had some of these white philanthropists who decided that they wanted to found a school, for lack of a better term. They wanted a school on the other side of the tracks, because, you know, they wanted to build a workforce. They wanted to also basically say, why don't you educate yours over here and we'll educate ours over here? Now, that sounds great. For some people, that sounds great. But the problem with that was, with a lot of HBCUs starting off, what you had was this, you had this culture of people who were freed slaves, and they were former slaves, and they were educating each other, and you had folks getting their education. But the thing is that while you had the Harvards and the Yales who were starting right here with education and going up here, and they were becoming these major research institutions over time, you had HBCUs who were, you know, the gain is just, it wasn't there, because you had schools that were set up to basically teach former slaves. Well, if you're trying to teach former slaves, then what kind of stuff are you doing? You're teaching them stuff like reading, you know, in a schoolhouse or some one building setup that's supposed to be a college or a university. And so that's why it's very important to do this deep dive into the history, to understand that it's not as simple as we always think it is. And I was like you, Lawrence. I was like, oh well, yeah, HBCU started because of segregation. But there's a much deeper story there. There's a cultural story. And if you really want to think about the history of HBCUs and why HBCUs were started, think about Black America overall. Think about issues like redlining and gerrymandering and all those types of issues that really kind of determine not how people are going to live, but how people will not live.